Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you're listening to the podcast of two dads going through the journey of fatherhood while you guys get to hear us as we're doing it. And Brandon, just because fatherhood is fatherhood, we're once again off schedule recording because it seems like in the worlds of being dads, nothing ever can happen on time. So, true to form, we're a little bit late recording this week, but it's good to see you nonetheless, my friend.
You as well. Yeah, we got hit by the dreaded vid in the Banks family, which I'll kind of get into in our update. But I was definitely down for the count with the fever the last week when we were supposed to record, so that was not about to happen. But back and better than ever, as my guy Mike from Mike and Mike used to say in the morning.
Well, I think that you should lead us off today with a dad joke since you've been gone for a little bit.
I'm excited since I've been gone. We've both been gone. But this joke that I have is it might go down as the most dad joke I've had since we've been recording this podcast, at least in my opinion. So I think you might get a kick out of this or be annoyed. We'll see. But Jerry, what starts with W, ends with a T, and is a little funny in the middle?
Wet. I don't know.
What starts with a W, ends with a T, and is a little funny in the middle?
Water. I don't know.
It's gonna what starts with W,
Uh,
ends with a T, and is a little funny in the middle.
yeah,
This
yeah,
that made it all. That made it worth it.
yeah.
That made it worth it.
There you go.
That's joke of the year.
I don't know about
Joke of
that,
the
but it was
year.
decent. I'll give you it was decent. It
Yeah,
was it was funny for coming back. But Brandon, yeah,
it's
so
a
I
good dad
I
joke.
feel like we've been gone for a little bit and I don't know about you, a lot seems to have happened in our house and at the same time not that much. Meaning I feel like there's a million different stories, but it maybe like the big things or the developmental things aren't quite like sometimes they are. But we've had a lot going on. But what's been going on with you?
So I feel the exact opposite. I feel like nothing has happened in the last couple of
Okay.
weeks. Part of it is I think we were down for the count just as a household for pretty much a
Right.
week. Um, but I mean, obviously, kind of buried the lead. We as a family, it seemed like other than Kelsey didn't seem to be too affected by it. But KJ tested positive. I tested positive. Bryce, and we'll kind of get into this with today's topic. But he didn't let anybody close enough to him to give him a test. He kind of threw a fit when that happened. But unfortunately, we all got sick last week. I thought it was just a continuation. If you remember last week's story of Bennett, if I remember his name right, from the
Yes.
doctor's office, we never really weren't sick from that for long, and like my sickness just continued. It seemed like just a cough that wouldn't go away, and then I had a couple employees who told me that they tested positive, and it made me. That's the only thing that actually made me test because I had the Bennett for a couple weeks, but um, so that was kind of our story last week. The cool thing is, it did give me some more time with the kids at home. We I didn't want to really expose my parents to that, and I caught a fever, so that obviously I couldn't go to work either. So that was the blessing in disguise. Kelsey and I both were working from home, so we're kind of splitting up the shifts. As she had meetings, the boys would be where I'm at right now, down in the basement with me. Some of our customers definitely heard some Bryce and KJ in the background at times as I was talking to people on the phone. But I think everybody kind of got a kick out of it. KJ right now finally has his teeth coming in.
Okay.
So he has. We at first it looked like one, but actually both of his middle two bottom teeth are completely cut through. You can see them. So we couldn't really tell if it was that or the fact that he was sick last week. But he definitely wasn't fully himself and a little bit more irritable. That's continued a little bit this week, but I mean overall he's handled this way better than Bryce did. I mean he's been just a more chill kid in general. So I'm interested to see if that continues through his toddler. Um, Unlike or if he's a little bit different than how Bryce is now. But his two bottom teeth came in. We are officially moving him out of our room this weekend, so we have
You
everything
got to be
we
excited
need to
about
do that.
that.
I'm excited and I'm not, because truthfully, I've had it way easier with him from a sleep perspective than I had with Bryce. With Bryce, we were splitting nights, like it was like clockwork. We had a routine. Like we take him into the other room, put him on the rocking chair, and he was bottle fed from early on. KJ has been breastfed, and he's starting to hit the point because we've introduced real food, and he's eating a lot more, where he's less apt basically to go for mom. He's getting a lot of what he needs from the food, and then we're supplementing with formula too. So he's breastfeeding less and less overall, and I think it's just time. Like he's he basically breastfeeds for comfort and to try to put himself to sleep more than anything else. And it's not he's not really eating much from there. So we need to get him out of the room and just rip the band-aid off, because he'll cry to come back into bed, to fall asleep in the bed, for us to put him back in his crib, and we need to get him used to that. But that's going to be a struggle in the beginning, because a lot of it throughout his life has been Kelsey, because I couldn't feed him. We weren't feeding the formula until recently. So I definitely will probably have a few more sleepless nights. My shift normally ends around midnight. It'll probably go a little bit later into the night, especially if he can't get settled. So pray for us this weekend. I might come into work on Monday a little more tired than
I
normal.
don't worry. We'll cover for you,
And then
Brandon. You just got to thank us. It'll be all
yeah,
good.
for sure. I got you. Jerry's hitting us with inside jokes right now. Um, Bryce overall seems to have normalized from like the school situation that we talked about. We definitely could tell coming out of it, he was a little bit more clingy, had some separation anxiety that seems to have subsided. He actually did very well going back into the classroom, or in the school, at the same school, different classroom, with my mom a couple weeks ago. She took him in. There's a parents' teachers organization. They have like a lesson, basically every day of the week, where parents can bring their kids. He's a little apprehensive at first, but he warmed up. He actually played with some other kids in the class, so that's encouraging for going forward. Obviously, my mom was in the class the entire time, so he did have a sense of comfort there. But the more we expose him to that, I think the better the transition will be when we bring him back in the fall. But I mean, he's at the point where, and I'll get into more of this with this week's topic, but he's just listening when he feels like it. Like, and a perfect example is that earlier today, um, he was doing something he wasn't supposed to do. Excuse me. And I told him, hey, like, look at me. I'm like, I'm at his level, and I'm telling him, look at me when I'm talking to you, so I can get him to do what. Because if he don't look at me, he just like that. That's the other thing that has been driving me insane. Like, just the straight up defiance of just not doing what you, and intentionally like letting you know he ain't gonna do it, or you tell him not to do something, and he do exactly what you tell him not to do, or get
Does
one
does
more
Bryce?
little
I gotta
thing
ask
of
you.
whatever it
Does
is in.
Bryce stomp when he's upset? Because Peyton stomps, and I don't know
No.
where she got it from, but this girl will stomp one foot, not both feet, one foot repeatedly when she's mad or trying to make a point. I don't know where she picked it up from, and it drives me nuts.
That's actually
But if it
hilarious.
drives me nuts, it drives Macy 10 times more nuts. She cannot stand when this, and this girl, if she's mad, she is stomping. And I cannot figure out where she picked it up from. Like, maybe it's a toddler thing, but maybe it's not. But it's pretty funny. She does stomp when she's mad.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, they are funny in it, like sometimes it's hard to like you, because he honestly he makes me mad. Like, I'm gonna be just
Yeah.
straight up. I feel it like boiling over in the middle of it, but it's funny at the same time.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'm having an internal emotional battle of like, I'm legitimately mad and legitimately this is hilarious at the same time, and I can't laugh.
Right.
Something like today. So what I was getting at, so I'm telling him not to do something. He he doesn't stump, but he's starting to like do like a quick little like yell, like either no way, or just like a literally like a ah. And like that's his like frustration for not being able to do what he wants to do. But I told him to look at me, and he faces me with his eyes closed, but looking at me, but with his eyes closed. And when I tell you, it took me from being super mad to like I turned around. I just turned around and laughed, and like he didn't know I was
Right,
laughing.
because his eyes
I
are
just turned
closed.
I turned to him. He couldn't see me anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm like, imagine that he finally because it took him forever to look at me. He finally looked up at me, but it's with his eyes closed, basically like, I ain't gonna look at you, dog. And it's like how do you even know to do that?
Right.
That like I don't
They're
understand.
crazy.
So I mean, this stuff right now with like some, and I've said this 3 times already in 10 minutes, but we're gonna get into it. But like it'll have you questioning sometimes. Like, is this
Mhm.
kid normal? Is this normal 3-year-old behavior? Am I failing as a
Right.
parent? Like I'm doing everything by the book. I'm doing stuff outside the book. Like what is going on? So I don't know. That's kind of our update right now. We're in the middle of terrible threes. I think in the past I've said he's amazing 75% of the time and like terrible 25% of the time. We're getting closer to 50-50 with every passing day. So still love him.
Uh,
He's amazing when
when he's
he ain't, and you
amazing.
get a lot of it throughout the
Yeah.
day. I mean, every day he does something that's just like he still wants to cuddle with me every night. We generally end the night like great. We generally start the day off great. But Lord have mercy, them middle hours are
Trying.
incredibly trying. So I feel for my parents.
Yep. No, it's funny you said that,
What
Brandon.
y'all been up to?
We got some of the same stuff going on, but I wanna start and I don't know, I feel like every kid is probably this way, but I don't know if we talk about it a lot on here. But Brandon, my kids are freaking weird. And I mean that in the most
Oh,
loving
oh,
way.
Bryce is weird.
Like,
This is my fault too. He's weird because of me.
it's the funniest thing to me because, like, one, obviously, I love my kids more than anything. They're freaking the best. But sometimes I'll be looking at them, I'm like, are kids all this weird? Are these humans just the weirdest
This
little?
makes me feel so
It's
good.
so funny. They do so every day
Same
something, and I'm like,
thoughts.
what is this coming from, and where do you get this? Saying something crazy, doing something crazy. Like the other day, Peyton's like playing with a cup, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm making a potion." Which one, I didn't know she know what potions were. But I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "What kind of potion are you making?" And she goes, "I'm making a yuck potion." That's like a yuck potion. She's like, "Yeah, you got to drink the yuck potion." And I'm like, Where does this come from?" Later on that evening, she's helping Macy make muffins. Meanwhile, Avery takes the dish towel down from the oven, puts it over her head, and starts running around the kitchen screaming with a towel over her head so she can't see. And that's what she's doing for fun. This is like normal behavior for these two. They just do the weirdest stuff. And I'm like, every day, I'm like, these kids are weird. They're hilarious, but they are weird. Like I don't know. Peyton, forever, we kept asking her what kind of birthday party she wanted, and she's like, "I want a poop party." I'm like, "A poop party?" That's what she wants. That's what she thinks is funny.
You should throw a poop party.
So they're weird kids. I love them, but definitely got some of what you're talking about going on. Except for, unfortunately, Brandon, in our house it's times two because Avery is
Yeah.
not a baby anymore. She's definitely full on toddler, and she's that age of toddler where they're like ridiculously cute with everything they do, but they're also like the worst little terrors when they want to be because they don't know how to express themselves yet. But this is when they start to
Yeah.
figure it out. So she's at that age where it's like, oh, I'm mad. I'm going to screech, throw myself on the floor, flail, kick, scream, yank, just all of that, just out of nowhere for no reason. And I remember that with Peyton. So like we knew it was coming, but she's definitely there. So she's good when she's good, but when she's bad, she's like a little grenade, and it can go off anything. You saw a little bit of it today. She came in and she just randomly just decides she's mad at the world and starts screaming.
It wasn't random. It was my fault, and I finally saw. I
You
finally.
saw her.
It's like she's been saving it.
Uh,
But I mean, they were walking into the store, and I happened to be on that side, and so I saw them coming. I got excited. I opened the door, and I think Avery needed to be able to warm up and walk in with mom and not have like be accosted. Peyton was excited to see me. Avery like looked at me, stopped walking, and that should have been my clue to
yeah.
turn around. But I kept on with my Uncle Brandon voice, and She did not want to come in.
No.
Macy said come in, and as soon as she stepped foot in there, she I was like, yep, it's time for me to walk away because that wasn't Avery's fault, so that doesn't
It
count.
doesn't count.
That was my
It's
fault.
it was funny though because
Doesn't count.
we're dealing with like two ends. Like so, you got Avery who's just mad for zero reason and doesn't know how to express herself, and then you got Peyton who's just all these emotions and she does know how to express herself, but unfortunately too much because she tells you how she feels, but like half the time you're just like, I don't care. Like this
Bro.
girl will argue with you for 3 hours straight about how she doesn't want to wear pants, even though it's 40 degrees outside, or a coat. And like, and she'll be like, I don't want to wear that. I don't like pantsies. I don't care. You're going to put them on. It's like, she's expressing herself and she'll tell you I want to wear this. I'm like, that fit you when you were 6 months old. So no, you're not going to wear that. Um, it's just funny, and she's got like lots of emotions. Like something funny is we've been teaching her. She's been learning so much, and it's been great. But like we've been teaching her a name, and we're like, hey, you're Peyton Alusky. That's your last name, and she thought it was cool. Well, then we're like Avery Alusky, and she's like, no, that's not her last name. That's my name. And she gets mad because you say like things like that, or like she knows what people's favorite colors are, right? And her favorite color is pink, as she'll tell you. And if you say anyone else's favorite color is pink, they're not allowed to have it because that's Peyton's favorite color. So she'll get mad if you claim that your favorite color is also pink. So
It sounds like she just knows what's hers and she
yeah,
wants it to be hers.
yeah,
I
and
understand.
food and clothes are the worst. And she's a lot of emotions, but she's also a lot of fun and she's learning stuff. She like every day she surprises me. She knows a ton of her letters now and like what they stand for. She's very interested in like drawing the letters. She's not very good at it yet, but she like wants to learn, which is exciting. She's asking lots more questions. She's putting context to things. Like she asks for mine and Macy's wedding song on Google all the time because she knows it as the wedding song, and she'll go, that's what mommy and daddy got married to, or you know what I mean, and just like things like that. It's super cute. Like we drink coffee on the weekends, and now she wants to drink like coffee like it's water. We put water in like a coffee mug, but she thinks that that's cool. Like just things like that she's starting to like to get into, which is really exciting. Um, and speaking of exciting, one thing that we did, and I just did it today actually, but we ordered Peyton her big girl bed. We decided to get a bunk bed because where our thought process is if we do end up having another kid, Avery will probably move in with Peyton at some point in time, and rather than having two single beds or having to figure out something, then just kind of knock it all out in one full swoop. The bed's not here yet. I'll fill everyone in kind of how that goes. I don't even know that we're going to put it up right away, but it is ordered, so that we're kind of heading in that direction. She's still doing good in her crib. It just kind of feels like we're getting close to the time where maybe we should introduce it and also give her a little bit more responsibility and see how she handles that. So we'll see how that is.
That's something you have to put together too, isn't
Oh,
it?
it's going to take everything I'm reading is like, this is going to be miserable.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's going to be
goodness.
terrible, but
We had bunk beds growing
oh,
up.
it's going to be
Actually,
terrible.
ugh,
Yeah. I might have to
yeah,
enlist a
nope.
grandfather or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But the other thing that is kind of cool, Brandon, I don't know if you guys have done anything. Halloween's coming up, and the last, so this is Peyton's third Halloween. It'll be Avery's second, but Peyton the first year she was a baby, and the second year she didn't really care. This year though she cares and she's excited. She's talking about what she's going to be, which is big Cinderella, which does not mean a large Cinderella. Just means like when we watched, if she wants to watch Cinderella, big Cinderella means the live action one. That's what she calls it. So that's the one she wants to be. Um, but we went to a trunk or treat and she actually was like going up and like saying trick or treat. She like whispers it because she's like nervous, but she like is excited about Halloween. She wants to watch Halloween Mickey and mini shows. Like she's talking to me about Halloween books. So I'm kind of excited that she actually like likes it this year. So that's been kind of fun. Avery even was kind of having fun at the trunk or treat. She like thought it was cool to hold the bag and then hold two suckers in her hands, even though she wasn't eating them. They sold the wrappers on, but she thought it was cool to hold them. So that was kind of fun.
And actually, you mentioned that it reminded me. We did do a Halloween event right before we got sick.
Mm,
So they went as Woody and Buzz. Bryce wanted to be
that's right. You
Woody,
told me. Yeah.
and he wanted KJ to be Buzz. And Toy Story is his favorite. They're You know what? I'm gonna put that up with this episode tomorrow. I haven't
There
posted
you go.
in a while, as Jerry has reminded me recently. So we got some cute pictures, and Bryce did get into saying trick or treat and getting some stuff.
It's
So
kind of
that
cool.
was fun.
It is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Other couple quick things is one thing that was kind of a big deal is I think I mentioned in the last podcast, but we signed Peyton up for an actual gymnastics class. When I say actual gymnastics class, it's not like it's that serious, but it actually is a class instead of just them running around doing whatever. And I was a little nervous because Peyton hasn't really been in a class since we signed her up for soccer. And this is one of those few times as a parent you were 100% right to be nervous because I texted Macy how it went and she said horrible. And then I talked to her and it sounded like it went even worse than what she texted me. Peyton was, I guess, just a disaster the first time. Didn't want to listen, wanted to do her own thing, was screaming, crying, and just was terrible to the point where Macy was afraid to go the second week. And I'm like, we got to go. We got to help her learn, but I'm saying all this and I wasn't going, right? And, but the second week went really, really well. And Peyton did a great job. And she followed their directions the whole time. She only didn't do one thing, but she didn't like cry about it. She just didn't want to do it. And that was really cool. So I'm excited for that. She's got one tomorrow. I'm hoping it goes well again. So as a parent out there, if you have your kid and they act crazy in a class or something, trust me, we've been there. Just keep at it, and hopefully you kind of have something like we just experienced where they turn that corner and it makes it even better when they do. So that felt good. Speaking of which, now Peyton's obsessed with doing somersaults, which she's actually really good at. The funny part is, and I showed you a video today, Brandon, but Avery thinks she can do them. But basically, what Avery does is puts her head into the ground and rolls to the
This video is
side and then starts
hilarious.
clapping, which is really cute because she thinks she's doing a somersault, which she's not. But what she started doing today is she like slams her head into the ground, like in the somersault position, but it like hard, and she's not phased by it. And to the point where we had to be like, stop her
It
from
was
doing it.
hard.
Yeah. So she's doing that. The girls keep doing somersaults every night. It's actually really fun. That's been super cute. The girls, by the way, they wrestle like they're boys. I didn't realize girls wrestled like this, but they roughhouse all the time. But they also give each other kisses all the time and tell them each other how much they love each other. So that's been really fun too. But overall, like it's been chaos. They're definitely at the ages where it's a lot of work, and it's as a couple of people at work today who saw them said, "You got your hands full." We definitely have our hands full, but it's also a lot of fun, and there's a lot of laughs and smiles every day, along with a lot of moments where you're like, God help me, give me the strength. So we got both of those going for us, Brandon. But it's been a good little bit for us.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited to get to the point where KJ can kind of roll around with Bryce. That is one area where I'll say Bryce has been great, and those are those moments like day in day out. You remember, hey, this is still a sweet kid and not
Hey,
a
it'll be
gremlin.
KJ that
Because
initiates it. KJ will initiate it, and then Bryce will go, "Okay, I can do this now." And that's the problem.
KJ gonna be as big as Bryce. I feel like sooner than we think. That boy, between him just naturally seeming like he's bigger and the way he looks at everybody while they're eating food, he
Hey,
gonna be a
that's
big boy.
that's Avery to a T. I don't fear for her when Peyton and Avery are wrestling. I fear for Peyton because Avery don't take
Yeah,
nobody's stuff. She just yeah, she scares me, and she's only one. So, Brandon, you got any pieces of baby gear this
it'll be
week to
fun.
go over?
I do. I might have said this one before, but it's a good retread because since we've been there, there's been a very consistent toy amongst the toys we have in the basement. And we bought this for Bryce around this like 6-7 months, I believe. And it's a talking cactus that basically
Mm.
mimics whatever you say, but with in a higher pitch. And KJ thought this thing, it was the first time he saw it, and he thought it was hilarious, and it was getting him going. When he was down here with me at the end of last week, Bryce still to this day, the first thing he does typically when he comes into the basement is seeks out the cactus, hits the button to turn it on, and says hello every single time. So that's pretty, and it's getting KJ kind of going to talking and stuff like that too. And it's supposed to be good if your kid doesn't talk. But that's my baby gear. If you search talking cactus on Amazon, 50 of them will show up. Go with the one with the highest rating. That's what we did.
Nice. I don't have any major baby gear this week, but one thing I'll mention, and we've talked about it on the show multiple times, but it seems like this is the toy that I guess the kids at my kids' ages, which Avery's a little over 1, Peyton's almost 3, and they will both play with them every single day, and that's Magnetiles. They will play with them every day, and they play well with them together. They both like them. They like when you play with them. I mean, if you haven't bought them, and you don't have to buy the Magnetile ones, there's like off-brand ones too. But those are probably the most used toy in our house and have been for months. And it's cool because they get to learn. They get to learn a little bit too while you're doing it. Because we'll build like houses and we'll build like castles and different things and animals. And we did letters. Like we were doing letters the other day. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's crazy. Bryce actually has really taken to Magnetiles recently, and we just bought him some more for Christmas. They had a pretty good sale recently on the last couple weeks.
It's always a good gift to ask for too, because if you don't feel like buying them, I feel like
Yeah,
people.
because they cost a lot.
Yeah, well, that's basically what I was getting at. But it's also like if people don't know what to buy. It's like you don't mind having too many because you can throw them in a bucket or you throw them in like a little container, and so they're not all over your house, or they are, but they're easy to clean up. So, but Brandon, that's a good
Yeah,
spot for us to get into today's topic. And today's topic is something that is similar to some stuff we talked about in the past, but definitely relevant. And I think it's going to be a little bit different instead of us just telling you what it is and how to deal with it. We're going to give you our spin on what we're dealing with and maybe our overall thoughts on what advice we've gotten or tried, and that is meltdowns. And we're talking about full blown meltdowns by your child. And if your kid's at the age where they have them, you know what we're talking about. If they're not, just be happy and live in that bliss for as long as you can because they're coming and I don't know when they end because they have not ended for myself or Brandon. But basically, we're talking about when a kid just loses their mind and there's no consoling them or talking to them or getting over it. You can tell as a parent, this isn't like, okay, I can spend 20 seconds and redirect them and they will be fine. This is, we got a problem and we're going to have a problem probably for a little bit. So if you're out in public, you're probably leaving wherever you are type of meltdown. And kind of to start, Brandon, I'll just be honest with you. There's a lot of advice out there, and I've read it, and we'll go over some of it. But I'll be honest with you, I feel like people are just throwing darts, and then if there's 30 things, then one of them kind of works one time. They're like, "See, we told you. That's our advice." Because half this stuff doesn't work. And I'll tell you what works today ain't going to work tomorrow. So I don't know the solution. So if you guys are looking for the magic pill, I'm not the guy. I haven't found it. We've tried a lot of different things, but Brandon, do you got a magic pill in your house or something that works? Because I sure don't have it.
yeah. The magic pill is the next kid, and maybe the kid after that. Because you could try one thing with one kid, try the same thing with the next, and you might shoot 50% if you're lucky. It's like a really, if you have a baseball average with these techniques with your kid, you probably are doing pretty well. But
And
I
today's
mean,
baseball
you
average,
said
not
it.
even like 10 years ago baseball
Yeah,
average.
no, I mean, it's incredible, like kind of what you read, and even like before, like you guys listen to this podcast, we you might be listening to this before you have kids. And Jerry and I have been through it, and our wives have been through it, and like we read a gentle parenting like guidebook because we wanted to do and I shouldn't like do like air quotes and say gentle parenting like that, but that's how I'm feeling right now because
I'm with you.
the
I'm
day
with
by
you
day
100%.
the gentleness is going out, and I keep looking at this kid like, and if you can't see me right now, but I I'm putting a fist up. Now I'm not gonna punch my kid, but I've been looking at my belt
But
a
in your
little bit
mind, you're
more.
going to. In your mind, you.
It's crazy. But
They,
I
yeah.
mean, we know how these meltdowns happen, and at this point, I can almost predict them, but I still get surprised like day in day out. Now I'll talk about what they consider some triggers clinically, but like let's look at today as an example because I guarantee you won't read about this particular trigger in any book anywhere. I had to pick Bryce up early today. And so they're spending a good amount of time with me. We had a great afternoon leading to the evening. Kelsey had to stay late at work. And so I'm hanging out with the kids. He's eating lunch. KJ's had his nap. I'm feeling like super dad. I got the dishes done. I've
Hmm.
switched the dishwasher. I've washed the bottles. Like Everything's going well. And then Bryce comes up to me, and he loves apples lately. He comes up to me and he says, "Daddy, can I have an apple?" He's already eaten. I'm excited. It's like a little healthy snack. He didn't ask me for
Mm-hmm.
cookies. Yeah, sure, had an apple. I'm going back to washing the dishes. Um, all of a sudden, keep in mind we've had a great day. This is out of the blue. All of a
You were
sudden,
due.
he's wailing, like wailing. I go in there, look at him. I'm thinking like Riley like popped him or something. Riley's our dog. Like I don't know what happened, and he's just staring. He just staring at his apple, looking at me. I was like, "What happened?" And he said, "My apple's broke." I was like, "What do you mean your apple's broke?" This kid has come to find out just dropped the apple on the floor, completely normal, and now he
He had a
has a
bruise.
slice in the apple
Oh,
and a bruise that he
uh-huh.
didn't call. Like if he'd have bit
Yep.
it, he'd have been fine.
Uh-huh.
But because he didn't, and when I tell you this was a 30 to 45 minute
Uh-huh.
full freak out,
Yep.
yell on the floor, spin around, like you're not gonna read about that in any book. And what do? In that moment, I talked to him about it. I asked him what happened, couldn't get him to calm down, and I went back to washing the dishes and let
Exactly.
him have his tantrum.
Amen.
Like so, I
Amen.
mean, and that's an example of it. One of the strategies that we'll get into is they say in some certain cases to ignore. I took him through my process, and that's what happened. But I guarantee you won't hear about apple
Hey,
meltdowns on but
we had one, Brandon, before. Peyton used to love graham crackers, and I gave her one, and the graham cracker wasn't 100% whole, and this kid
this
lost
happens all the time.
her mind, and I was like, that's what you got. Like, there's a graham cracker, there's a little piece chipped off. No, I'm not talking like a half of one because I knew that would trigger her. I'm talking like a
Oh, we
little
know what you're
piece.
talking about.
And yeah, same thing, lost her mind. But yeah, Brandon, it's funny you mentioned the gentle pick because again, some of the strategies tell you you talk to your kid, you try to rationalize with them, you keep it simple. That's another strategy. You don't want to like overcomplicate it. They also tell you not to repeat yourself 100 times. Like don't keep saying the same thing over and over. Give them time to adjust to what you're saying. And then you try to like give them solutions, or you try to explain to them why they shouldn't be upset, and basically different ways to, I'll call it, like you said, gentle parent. And we've tried them, and we still are trying them. It's not like we stopped trying them. But the other day, Peyton lost her mind. What did she do? Oh, she wouldn't pick up the balls in the basement. She has like a little place with a bunch of like the little balls you see, like the ball pits, right? And they're all over because she spilled them everywhere. And I go, Peyton, can you help pick up the ball pit? No, stomping her foot. I said, Peyton, I'm
Stomping
not
her
going to ask
foot.
you again. Put them away. No, you put them away. I'm like, no, I didn't get them out. I was like, you put them
Oh,
away. And then she goes, Mommy put them away. I said, no, Mommy ain't going to put them away. You going to put them away. And then she's like, no, I'm not. I don't want to put them away. And I said, Peyton, you got one more time to not put them away. Otherwise, you're going to go in timeout. I'm not going timeout. Stomping, stomping, stomping. Finally, she like won't pick him up. I can't remember exactly what she did, but she said something or like basically screamed, and I just grabbed her. I grabbed her, and we were in the basement. Go up the first flight of stairs, go up the second flight of stairs. She's screaming, yelling, like top of her lungs. I put her in her crib. I don't say boo to her. I leave. I go back downstairs. Macy's cleaning up the rest of the basement. Avery's walking around having the time of her life because she's oblivious to everything. This is normal for her. And Macy starts to pick up the balls, and I'm like, no, you're not picking those up. She's picking those up because she's not getting out of that bed until she's gonna pick those up. So probably 5-10 minutes goes by. Peyton's still crying. I go up in the room. She looks at me. I'm looking at her down the eye. She stops crying. I'm like, are you gonna pick up those balls? Yes. I said, okay. Are you gonna say sorry? Sorry. And then I took her downstairs, and I'll give her credit. She picked him up. So then in my head, I'm thinking, man, I'm always the one who's the calm, rational. I'm trying to talk to her, try to be nice. And I'm like, this time, not like I was mean. I didn't yell at her really. I didn't do nothing. I just grabbed her, put her in her bed, and she did it. She did it right away. So I'm like, that's not in the books. The books say to do the opposite, basically. But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But that worked for us in that scenario. Now I'm not trying to do that every single time, but I talked to her. I told her why we needed to pick up. I explained to her if we didn't pick up, we couldn't go upstairs to eat dinner. I gave her time. I told her what the punishment would be if she did. I went through all these processes and nothing was happening. And, so eventually I think sometimes, at least in my experience, and every kid's probably different, but like you got to show them that if you're going to give them a consequence, the consequence is real. Otherwise, they're just going to keep pushing you, right? So if they don't think
So
timeout's an actual real thing, right?
yeah, I'm over timeout, and it hit me the other day, and this is why I've kind of changed how I'm doing this a little bit. But I know growing up, so my dad, if I even talked to if he heard me say gentle parenting, he might whoop me right now, just for even saying gentle parenting. Like I wasn't gentle parented. Were you gentle parented?
No, no,
No
zero,
kid.
zero percent chance.
I would be over my friend's house. Guess who wasn't getting gentle parented? I might have had. I had one. I had one. I know the friend who I had who might have been quote unquote gentle
How
parented.
they doing
His name
today?
was Spencer. His name was Spencer, and he was the worst kid to his parents that I had growing up. This all hit me the other day, and I'm like, so we done gotten to this day and age where like we share everything. I mean, we got a podcast about parenting, but everybody like it's like groupthink. But somebody got a hold of all of us and said like we got to be soft and we got to nurture our kid. And I'm halfway
It
joking.
wasn't
You
even
you
just
need to
us,
nurture your
Brandon, though.
kid.
Like it
They got
wasn't
to
even
our
our parents.
wives.
It was it was when you were at your friend's house, their parents weren't gentle parenting you either as the friend. They got
No,
no problem telling you, Jerry, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to call your mother. They
but
were going
guess
to,
what? Like, did you have any friends who like really like to their parents' face were disrespectful and
no,
weren't listening?
no.
Like, and I have like my dad used to record everything on a little 3.5 millimeter camera. Like, so growing up, I watch home videos of myself as a toddler. Like, there were times it's like I'm just learning how to walk. I grabbed something I wasn't supposed to grab. He said, "Don't touch that." My little like 1.5, 2 year old self touch it again. I don't know. I know for a fact I know what I was doing. Touch it again. He popped my hand. He record. He got a camera. He got a camera in one hand and found the
Pop your
time to
hand.
pop me in the hand. And guess what? I didn't
I
touch
didn't
it
touch it.
again.
You didn't touch it again.
No, like some of that stuff. I'm. Am I about to wake up tomorrow morning and whoop my son? Probably not. But is this route that we've been suggested overall working for me right now? The way I'm feeling, no. There needs to be a more firm direction taken, in my opinion. And you kind of gave an example of what that looked like.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, for example, one thing, and I've talked about this a million times, but we've really struggled with Peyton is she loves to wear dresses and she needs to pick them out. And that's pretty much the only thing she wants to wear, which during the summer is not that big a deal. Now, in Michigan, once fall and winter hits and it's 40 degrees or below out,
It's
it's
cold.
kind of a big deal. And as a parent, you kind of need to make sure your kid is warm. But when your kid will not wear anything else without a complete meltdown, I've tried talking to her, I've tried explaining to her, I tried showing her the other day, like opening the door, like, hey, it's cold out. You feel it's cold out. You don't like the cold, right? And you try sometimes I just put it on her like hey, we're not doing this today. I'm just dressing her, right? I don't even talk, we don't even have a conversation about it. I'm just gonna put it on her. And the kid, like, we're no better off today than we were months and months ago. I don't know the solution. She hates it. She absolutely hates it. Today she would refuse to wear pants. She went outside, and then Macy said the second they got outside, she goes, "Ooh, it's cold, mommy. I need a blanket." Like, are you kidding me? No, you need some pants. But
Yeah,
I don't
Bryce is
know
like that
what
with
the
buttons
answer is. And
randomly.
she's like that with grandparents. She's like that with everyone. So, I don't know. You keep trying and eventually hopefully you hit something. But to go over some other things that people do tell you, I think a couple things that I will agree with that, you read is you do need consistency. Because if you're trying one approach and your wife's trying a different approach and your grandparents are trying a different approach, it's hard. Or like I said, if you don't follow through on things, kids aren't dumb. They're gonna test you. So that's my whole thing is like if I'm gonna say something, like if there's gonna be a consequence and it gets to that point, I'm not going who's gonna I'm gonna deliver. Like if I say I'm gonna put you in your bed, if you're not listening, I'm gonna put you in your bed. If I say you don't eat this, I'm not giving you, a dessert or that. I'm not gonna do it because otherwise the kid's gonna keep trying you, right? We're not going to go out to the fun place we're heading if you don't put pants on. Like I think you gotta have consistency in what you're saying because kids pick up on that. Um, the other thing I will mention, and I don't know if this is just doctors saying this, Brandon, to make us parents feel better, but if you read anything about meltdowns or tantrums and things of that nature, they say it's good for a kid's development. They all say that it's
Bryce
natural
about
and
to
it's
be super
normal.
developed.
Yeah, exactly. They all will tell you that this is actually a really good sign. You want your kids to have tantrums. It shows they're developing and figuring out their stuff. And again, they might just be selling us something, but sometimes I try to remind myself, like, okay, this is good, or she needs to express herself, she needs to find it, but she needs to find it a little bit quicker. And the little one's
Completely
just
agree.
getting started. So we're going to go into it again. Maybe I'll have better strategies then. But what other strategies have you guys found that do kind of work, I guess I'll call it, or at least have some substance that you believe?
Yeah, well, a major thing that I absolutely agree with is explaining when you get to the point of the punishment, explaining to them once things have settled, and you may be at the point, if it's something like timeout, making sure they understand why they are there in the first place. And Bryce does this thing. It drives me insane still, but it's funny because he do it every time. He's doing it on purpose. But if I ask him, I do this every time. So when we get to the point, I'll set a timer for timeout, and at the end of that timer, or I'll tell him a time. I'll talk to him about why he's in timeout. Do you understand why Daddy put you here? Whatever the punishment is. And he starts off every time he look up at me and he'll say, "Because," with the like, if I love my kid, it's the dumbest voice ever when he says it. It's the dumbest he ever sounds on a daily basis. It's because it's almost like when like you in the class with the kid who didn't study, and then the
They trying
teacher
to
asks him
stall.
something, and
They
he
trying to
and he try
stall.
to like repeat the question back. He's like, like he doing the exact same thing. He know it already at 3 because, but he he looks at me and he gets it out, and he understands why he's on punishment. Or I'll explain to him, hey, you did this like today. He wanted to play in the trash can. Said, you stop playing in the trash can. Matter of fact, it got to the point he kept playing in the trash can. I was like, don't even touch the trash can. And that's when he looked at me. This is all the incident basically
Eyes
I've been
open or
talking
eyes
about, right?
closed.
Yeah, that's when he looked up at me with his eyes closed, and then put his hand back on the trash can. So Stevie Wonder found the trash can with his eyes closed, but couldn't open his doggone eyes and look at me. But that's when he went. So don't touch the trash can, and when Daddy tells you to do something, you need to do it.
I'm
But
impressed that your
it's
kid
I
can
mean,
talk to you when they're in timeout because Peyton just balls if she's in timeout or is in trouble. I can't get a word out of her because I'll try to talk to her and be like, "Do you understand?" And she just will not communicate at all. She
yeah,
can't. She like physically cannot talk when she gets upset. And I'm just like, and that's hard too because I'm like, I don't know I don't even know what's wrong. Sometimes I'm like, you got to tell me what's wrong. You're just crying, and there's no talking. And she gets like that because she has no problem communicating when normal, but the second she gets
yeah.
upset, she like loses all form of communication. And I'm like, okay, so then you start playing the guessing game, right?
I generally don't even try to talk to him for the first couple minutes. And I mean, he's not really spending a ton of time. Like a long session of timeout might be like 7 minutes. And that's because he probably didn't tell me what I wanted to hear in the beginning. But I mean that's a major thing. They'll in the middle of the tantrum or the meltdown, what you'll read is acknowledge their feelings, offer comfort, create a safe space. Wham wham wham. Wham. It's how I felt. It's how I felt like kind of studying up for this again. One thing that I do agree with though, and the type of meltdowns that we're talking about, I don't think this really works, but you can potentially get if you get to it early, offering a distraction. That sometimes can redirect if you see it coming. Sometimes like this Apple incident earlier, I literally tried to put a movie on because he really didn't do anything wrong. I'm just
Right.
trying to like finish doing the dishes.
Distract him,
He
which is
didn't want to
another
watch the
strategy.
movie.
Yeah, you just want to distract him.
Yeah, he didn't want to watch the movie. So like distractions sometimes work, sometimes they don't. But I mean, ultimately, I think what Jerry and I both are saying is you need to do your research. You need to try different methods. You need to figure out what works and what don't. and most of this stuff don't work. And be cool with these kids.
Toddlers, yeah, toddlers are toddlers, and they're gonna toddler, But I
Yep.
want the one thing I will agree with, and this kind of goes with the consistency thing, but like learned behavior, your kids are gonna they're gonna learn based on their actions and your actions. So if they act like that and they end up getting what they want, they're gonna always act like that. I'm a firm believer in that, and that's my big thing. Is like I try not to let that happen, but it's hard because when you have multiple people watch your kids and stuff, like especially with the dressing thing, that's part of the thing that drives me nuts. I won't let Peyton get away with not wearing pants or something, but then grandma does. And then, you know what I mean? She's going to, so it's hard to keep that consistency up. Um, it's learned behavior. If the kids can get their way by crying or throwing tantrums or complaining, they're going to continue to do it. So, you got to keep your cool too, because you don't want to yell at your kids. I think most things would tell you yelling or screaming or raising your voice is not good for them. So you don't want to do that. But it doesn't mean that you always have to be Mr. Friendly, nice guy all the time too. You can be dad, you can be mom, and you can, I don't say lay the law down. I sound like my dad now, but you can make them understand that there are consequences and there's certain ways you need to act. But if anyone's got solutions out there or things that work great for them, I'd love to
Send
hear
them
them,
to us.
because my kid ain't figured it out yet. She has
Yeah.
meltdowns regularly, and the little one is just she's kind of like a gremlin. I'm afraid of her after night, or if she's wet, or if it's there's a breeze. Like she's just gonna. I don't understand. She has meltdowns just because it's just been 5 minutes. So poor Avery. That's her.
Yeah.
But luckily she's
One last
easy to make
thing.
happy.
One last thing I did want to. I do think we've done well, almost too well in this process. Is from the beginning we have kind of taught Bryce about feelings and different moods and stuff like that. So I do think he does a good job in the even in the moment, as annoying as it is, and I'm telling you, it's annoying, of expressing the feeling that he currently has, and then that helps us get to the root of why he's upset in one way or
Yeah,
another. So if he tells us he's very sad or he's very mad, all the flip we've had recently is I can just basically tell him to say I'm happy, and he's so used to saying I'm happy with a smile on his face that tricks him into being happy sometimes, which is probably a lesson we can take to work. But
I
it's
was gonna start telling people
I
you're happy.
yeah, Kelsey kind of led the charge there. I'm not gonna lie, there are times in the beginning I thought it was kind of stupid, but it actually has worked, and he does a very good job of knowing the feeling that he's having and being able to express it over and over and over again.
That's good.
That's what
Peyton's
I got.
gotten better at that. She used to not do great at that, but lately she'll tell you when she's happy or sad or tired. But the only problem is, and I don't know if Bryce probably has done this at some point, but like sometimes I feel like she's just saying it because she thinks it's fun to say, right? Like just random things. Like she'll randomly be like, "I'm tired," and she just got up from a nap. And you're like, "Okay, do you want to go to bed?" No. And it's like, "Okay, are you really tired, or are you just saying it because you just got done taking a nap and you think it's what you're supposed to say?" But
He tries to
um,
manipulate without question. He says I'm sad if he's trying to get attention.
yeah. But anyways, that's kind of our topic today. Meltdowns. I'm sure we'll go over them time and time again. They and new strategies that work or don't work. We'll share those stories with you, because you got to laugh at it,
It's
otherwise
because
you
the
might
kids.
cry. Yeah, the two kids thing is real, because when they're both having tantrums or meltdowns at the same time, that that gets interesting, Brandon. I can't wait for you to have that first moment where it's two meltdowns at the same time, and you literally can't
I'm
understand your
just
senses.
I'm just glad that half of this stuff you're going through too, because it makes me feel more sane, to tell you the truth.
You gotta laugh, like I said, because otherwise you'd cry. But I think that's a good place for us kind of to go into my dad joke for the day, Brandon. So are you ready for my dad joke?
I'm waiting with bated breath.
So we're car people, Brandon. We work in the automotive industry, so this is kind of topical for that. But Brandon, if you drive a Subaru in reversed, what are you?
A burris.
You're a bus.
A bus.
A bus. Yes.
You're a bus.
You're a
Subaru, you're a
bus.
bus. Okay. I should have actually sounded that out.
Yeah. Yep. You're a bust.
That
Shout out
was
to
a
those
dad
kids.
joke. Dad joke too.
Very dad jokish, but kind of topical. Plus, Subarus are kind of cool. Um, I mean, maybe not. I don't know. If you got a Subaru out there, we love you. I think
My
they're
my in laws have a Subaru. I sold it to them, but I wouldn't qualify the Subaru as cool.
cool. They're dad cool.
They do actually have some pretty decent performance, like off road vehicles, if you're
That's
into that
true.
kind of thing.
That is true. But
Yeah.
for those of you out there who have never listened to us before, and this is your first time, we appreciate you. For everyone that's been with us from the beginning to the middle or anywhere in between, we appreciate every single one of you guys. Please leave us a review if you haven't. Please like us on our social media pages. Please comment and tell us what you want to hear about, or if you have any questions or anything you think we should know. And the best thing you can do is tell people about us, because we love every single person that we get to listen. So, but until next time, as always, I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.